Hi, this is Nathan. Welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod, where humor, analysis, and discovery are just around the corner. Are you ready? Come on, let's go for another episode of the Wad Fam Chalk Pod.
Hello and welcome to the Wad Fam Chalk Pod. I'm Dylan Weaver.
And I'm Andrew Sabo.
And we're here this week talking about episode 703 of Adventures in Odyssey, entitled The Labyrinth, Part 1.
Perhaps in reference to the Greek labyrinth. Or Pan's. We don't know.
I mean, I guess we don't. It could just be a labyrinth. I think personally, it's in reference to the Green Ring conspiracy, in which they say, "Are you going to get lost in this labyrinth of lies?"
And then
that's my Mr. Whitaker apparently now.
Yeah, that's a good Mr. Whitaker. And then they say that again this episode, don't they?
They have a riff on it.
Yeah,
but yeah,
we'll get into it.
It's the first episode off of the Deep End, which is album 55. It is written by McCusker and Hubler, with the direction being McCusker. It is the first episode post-album 50 that Hubler has a credit on.
No wonder it's so good. How many, has he increased his writing on the show since?
I believe so, yeah. I think he's done considerably more in recent years than he had at the point of this.
Oh, wow. But, yeah, he's
it's like one of the core guys now.
Yeah. He wrote the Sacrificial Escape, as previously covered on the show.
Yep. It's proof that even our heroes
Ruse
don't have to do all things right.
That's true. Although The Secret of the Writer's Ruse was one that we didn't hate.
No, I actually liked that one quite a bit.
Yeah.
This is the problem, is we think so poorly about Maury, but remember how optimistic I was?
We were so optimistic, especially with the first episode. Parker for President was amazing.
Yeah. Too bad it didn't lead to anything.
Nope. Except for the new album that's coming out now that will surely just drag on this horrible plot line.
Yep.
Is it killing the show?
No.
Do you think that Maury could kill the show?
I think people are generally either positive or don't care.
That's fair. And I think the people that don't like it still listen, which means that Focus still gets their money and everything.
Yeah.
They've taken the all press is good press approach. On a personal note, the Off the Deep End, or just the Deep End album, was the last one that I listened to as it came out. Well, at least the one that I cared about. And boy, this is a great album. This has the Sergeant York 3-parter on it as well, which is really, really good. Some really top-notch, old-school style Odyssey, but in the new era format.
Interesting. See, this is the last 3 episodes of Odyssey I listened to. I did not listen to the whole album.
Wow.
I listened to The Labyrinth parts 1, 2, and 3 as they were airing, and then I never came back to Odyssey until we started the show.
Wow. So was there a big, were you upset at the ending of The Labyrinth?
No.
Or you just didn't?
No, I just
wasn't a priority.
In a different place in my life.
You were in high school.
Right. I was going to say, this was finishing up my 8th grade year.
Yeah.
Of school. I think I re-listened to Novacom that summer. But this was the last new episode I listened to, or this 3-parter was where I bowed out. And so even my recollection of this 3-parter is rough because I only heard them the once. So yeah, this episode originally aired March 3rd, 2012, which is 3 months after Childish Things aired, which is literally the previous episode chronologically, and the last one we covered.
Okay. I think that Odyssey should really just broaden their age range and go like 8 to 14 instead of 8 to 12, or even we could go 6 to 14. I
was
you can. There's a lot of
nearly
Odyssey.
14 listening to this.
Yeah, exactly. And I was, I think, 13. I mean, I listened to more Adventures in Odyssey in high school than you did, I think. But that was just me drumming the depths of old comfort things to, ease the woes of adolescence. That was before I discovered nicotine addiction.
Ah, yes. A way better way to ease the woes of adolescence. Stunt your growth.
Yeah. And give yourself cancer. It's a twofer. Very cheap, but not cheap at all. Very expensive.
Yeah. So we unsurprisingly have we've got a ton of cast in this episode. Mm-hmm. And 2, we've got a ton of context from the official guide.
Oh, beautiful.
And so I'm going to try to spread this out over the 3-parter, because otherwise we're just
going to be reading a book
ourselves into a hole. Yeah. So the things I want to address, one, let's just run down through the cast.
Okay.
We've got Georgia Dolance as Sue.
Mm-hmm.
This is her first episode in Odyssey. She has returned since then. She has done like a handful of on-screen roles, but no characters of note. Just like she's been in an episode of Criminal Minds and an episode of Wizards of Waverly Place. So, there's that. We then have Christy Wu as Agent Florin.
I misspelled that in my notes.
Notably, Chow on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Okay.
Yeah, and then this one's notable for Andrew, but she voiced a character called Lai on Legend of Korra.
Yeah, a incredible character. She's the sequel to Sparky Boom Man from the original Avatar. If you know what I'm talking about, that joke's hilarious. If you don't, Sparky Boom Man's a funny name. But yeah, very excited to see her in Odyssey and playing Florin. I did not recognize it.
There you go.
She doesn't talk a lot in Avatar.
Okay. Also voiced a character called Windblade on the most recent Transformers iteration. Her partner in crime, Agent Billings, is voiced by Simon Cassianades. He is famously, I guess, he just plays a lot of spies, or is in a lot of spy stuff. He played a character called Yusuf in the Quantum of Solace. One of the more recent Bond movies. He was also in a 2006 series called MI5. And had a large recurring role as Sunil Bakshi on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Okay.
And then recently appeared in an episode of The Mandalorian.
As who?
A character called Axe Woves.
Yeah, I don't know what that is.
He was in the episode Chapter 11.
That's helpful.
I think that's the 3rd episode of season 2, if I remember how they do numbering in The Mandalorian.
Yeah, 8 episodes per season.
So, anyways.
Yeah, I believe it.
He's in a Mandalorian episode. Probably that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. kind of
the Disney
connection.
Crossover. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, because there's other Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. people there. Anyways, doesn't matter. We also have Darren Richardson. Mm-hmm. Darren Richardson is voicing Reggie Fingers.
What a horrible name.
Such a great character. He doesn't have anything huge. He's provided additional voices on the Castlevania series that people seem to really like. And he was also in an episode of Lost and also the movie Velvet Buzzsaw.
What an interesting catalog.
And an episode of This Is Us, apparently. So, he's just, done some random one-offs.
His fingers in a lot of pots. Huh?
Yeah. And then we've got J.B. Blanc as Mycroft Thug, best joke of the episode. He was previously in Passages on Odyssey and has been in a ton of stuff, including notably played Dr. Barry Goodman on both Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad.
Whoa.
Yep.
Whoa.
He was
Mycroft Thug.
He played Batir, the who's like one of the main thug dudes in the TV show Barry, which I really love.
That's a great show, yeah.
Great show. He also did additional voices on Castlevania, which I just think is funny to point out. But like the man is one of those like 300 some IMDb credits, has appeared in a little bit of everything. A lot of just like small voiceover parts. But then occasionally shows up on on-screen stuff in like recurring prestige television. So
good for him. He's winning.
Yeah.
He knows how to pick him, that's for sure.
Very clearly. And then we also, so this episode features the return of Anne and Dale Jacobs.
Yay! Dale, of course, voiced by none other than Phil Lawler.
Yep. And Milby Barron voices Anne Jacobs. These are the only episodes she's been in of Odyssey, and this is the only time she has voiced Anne Jacobs. Though she did voice a character called Aubrey, or she did play a character called Aubrey Jacobs on Criminal Minds.
Interesting. Funny crossover. I think it would be, I don't want to say better for the show, but more interesting for the show if Phil Lawler had his actual wife play Anne Jacobs. I think that'd be interesting. But
that's funny. But yeah, if Dale Jacobs has not been on screen since like episode 420 or something, and Anne hasn't been in since episode like 200.
Jeez.
So it's been like 500 episodes since they've had Anne Jacobs voicing a part.
Yeah, she started her own like eBay business out of her garage.
Yeah. And so
it's very occupied.
And we can get into more of this as we go on, but Anne and Dale were a very late rewrite to the script. Mm-hmm. This was supposed to be Jack and Joanne, but there was a scheduling conflict.
Aww. I wish it could have been Jack and Joanne.
Yep. Anyways, so that's yeah.
Because this would have been their last episode, presumably.
No, they do
a comeback.
Yep.
Okay, cool.
They do still make like a final appearance in New Odyssey, but yeah, Alan Young was ill during the time of this recording, per the official guide, and so they wrote in the Jacobs basically because no one remembered what Anne sounded like. And Phil Lawler is always available.
It's true. He is. He's already on payroll, thankfully. Yeah. Wow. I'm just thinking about the episode and everything that that Dale does. And imagining Jack doing it, and I'm wistfully, mourning the loss of what could have been.
My headcanon is that in that original script, rather than having Sue do an American accent, Jack got to pull out his Scottish accent.
Oh, that would have been perfect.
That's my headcanon on the original script.
Today. Scottish father with the English daughter.
Yeah, sure.
Makes perfect sense.
Or maybe an English accent.
I mean, it would sound mostly Scottish though.
Yeah. Alan Young gets to break out his Donovan.
Yeah.
And then our only other person to address is we do have Keith Ferguson here. Again, we've talked about him a couple times recently because he's Ted Humphries and played Professor Bruce. And in this episode, he is Agent McIntosh Inspector McIntosh and
Detective McIntosh.
Detective seems wrong.
I mean,
it's British. I'm pretty sure he's Inspector.
Yeah, that feels
Inspector
correct.
Inspector McIntosh and Constable Simon Pratt.
Get your crap together, Wiki.
Yeah, this is
really
truly egregious.
On the lighter note, please update our pages so that we have current episodes of the podcast listed while we're filing a formal complaint.
Yeah, that's how you get stuff changed, right? You just talk about it on a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's what I've been doing with politics, and hasn't stuff been going so well?
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you're to blame.
Yeah, always am.
With all of that context out of the way, and don't worry, there will be more over the next few episodes, folks. But I'm gonna go ahead and roll the promo on this one.
Hot dog.
On the next adventure in Odyssey, Jason is on a mission to London.
What can I do for you?
Well, I thought maybe we should have a little chat about our mutual friend.
Mr. Gross.
But his mission takes a dangerous turn.
Jason Whittaker has deceived the lot of us. The sooner we capture him, the better.
Join Jason as he navigates the Labyrinth, next time on Adventures in Odyssey.
That's a good one.
I mean, it gets you excited for the episode, I guess. I feel like I'm more excited just because I've seen it.
Yeah, exactly.
Not because, you know.
No, yeah. This is... And my big thought about this is, like, this is the closest thing I can think of to something that sounds like Novacom and feels like Novacom, since Novacom. And also feeling so spoiled that we got, like, 2 albums worth of that level of action and drama and pacing, and we only got a 3-parter out of this one.
Yeah, no, that's fair. This is, yeah, it's fun. We get like an overseas spy episode again.
Yeah,
which does cool. It feels very name not a number. Which I love.
It's
a nice
friend
nice
of the
return.
podcast. Name not a number.
I mean, truly. And so yeah, we even start out like the episode with some spy music again.
Yeah, I mean, that's to, beat a dead horse, but it does kind of sound like Novacom era-esque. Not full, like, really aggressive electric guitars, but it's definitely playing on similar motifs.
Yeah, it's spy time.
Spy time. Spy time with Jason.
Yeah, the part of the show where Jason comes out and does some spy stuff.
I'm here for it.
In this instance, we've got a collaboration between him, the Interpol, and MI5, in which he is going undercover as the Grinder.
Yeah! And they bring up how weird of a name that is.
They make fun of the name every time it's stated.
Yep.
Which is such aggressive lampshading.
Yeah, it's
where it's like, we just decided to make a notably terrible name and then just make fun of it.
Yep, that's the answer. And also, I feel like they still don't really make fun of it enough for how bad it is.
Yeah, well, and I don't.
Like,
so
when you grind your teeth?
Well, do you get the joke Jason makes? Because I have no idea. So Fingers is like, what kind of a name is that? And does the whole like, do you grind your teeth, your nails, other people? And he's like, and Jason says, I used to have a dancing monkey in the street. Grinder.
Yeah.
Get it?
Yeah, I don't get that.
I don't either.
Maybe
Write at us.
Yeah, please. If you get the joke, please.
Let us know if this is a thing that makes sense.
I presumed it was a deep cut Twin Peaks reference I didn't understand, but if you didn't get that, then it's probably not that. Is there a dancing monkey named Grinder in Twin Peaks you forgot?
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them. But
yeah, no, it's a special name. So the episode opens up with Agent Billings and Agent Florin. They're in a van. They're basically, just a very expositional dialogue setting up the situation where all of these intelligence agencies are working together to try and get growth. The Americans and the British and somebody else. There's a third party, right? Who am I missing? Is it like world security?
What? The Americans, British, Interpol.
Oh, Interpol. Yeah.
Just European in general.
Okay. That's what that is.
Yes.
And they're also, so they're setting up outside of Reggie Fingers Fish and Chips, and they explain that that's a long time family business where they apparently sell very good fish and chips, and
also launder money.
Yep.
And
run
definitely. A crime syndicate.
Yep, we got a Los Pollos Hermanos situation for all those Breaking Bad fans out there.
And
Actually, the Los Pollos Hermanos crossover in this episode is pretty strong.
Well, I mean, we do have a Breaking
frigid-
Bad cast member on the episode, so you never know. We have these two agents. Billings is seemingly has been working with, Jason for a long time. Florin's new. She's replacing his other partner who is out of the picture for reasons unclear.
But alluded to.
Yes, but alluded to. And, Billings, haha, Bill. Florin, also a form of currency. The other agent they mention is currency as well. The official guide actually has an entry on this mentioning that the agents... Oh, I guess that's throughout the series, are Billings, Florin, Farthing, and Shilling. Also, maybe Sue is a bit of a money joke. I'm not entirely sure.
No, short for sewer rat.
Well, there is that as well. Then it should be pronounced so. Jason goes in to... Rewinding. So, Florin and Billings are sitting in this van watching this all go down. And Billings has the relationship with Jason. And Florin is like, I think he might be in on this.
Yeah.
Like, he's been working, Groat for so long and hasn't caught him, nor has he been caught.
Which, in my mind, immediately triggered some, what's the name of the agent with the Maury stuff that turned out to be bad? You know what I'm talking about? When the flooding in the... At the end
Mado.
Yeah. That gave me some real...
Oh, you
vibes.
think that the thing here is that she's in on it, but she's pointing out to Jason's in on it to try and take the pressure off herself. Interesting. I just thought of her as
that
young,
she
over-eager, agent.
Well, what can you say? Odyssey is breaking my trust.
Fair enough.
One episode at a time, as long as it involves Maury.
Fair enough. So Jason's in there, trying to, talking to Fingers.
In his mobster voice, as the Grinder, which I'm not entirely convinced isn't a member of the Magic Mike cast.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's fair. He's either that or he's a dating app. We'll never know.
Yep. Or an apparatus used to blend spices.
I mean, there's... Sure.
There's many uses.
Yeah. So, yeah, Jason's walking in, and he goes and has a conversation with Fingers under his Grinder persona, who sounds exactly like his... I guess he's a little less gravelly than the Stiletto. The Stiletto sounds like he's smoked maybe like a pack a day more than the Grinder.
Yeah. The Grinder is a gentleman's like 4 cigarettes a day, I think.
Okay. Yeah.
He started mostly socially.
Yeah. And so Fingers does this whole thing where he's like, we've got, like, Groat is surprised to see you here without, him knowing about it first. And Jason's like, well, if you would have asked, I would have told him.
Yeah.
And then there's this whole thing where he's like, well, because you're here, I know that there are agents following you. And so my guys are going to go out there to that van. Oh, but before all this happens, I forgot to mention, Jason's packing heat.
Yep.
For I think the first time ever.
He says it's a sign of respect, but yeah, Jason does have a gun.
I mean, it's immediately taken from him.
Yes. Yeah.
And it would be like weird if a gangster didn't show up with a gun, I guess.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And maybe it's a water gun. But
still can strike a lot of fear into the hearts of others.
Yeah. And so his hat, his trench coat, and his gun are taken immediately. His cell phone's in the trench coat pocket, so he loses that as well. But
this will surely not be a problem.
But yeah, and so Fingers is like, I'm going to send someone down there to pay a visit to our friends in the van. And then is like, and in the meantime, I've got the, I've got Agent Billings' daughter. I've told him enough times to get out of here, and he's still up in my business. So we
She's
grabbed
supposed to be at dance lessons.
Yep.
But she's not at dance lessons.
Nope.
She's in a fridge.
She's in a fridge, which, we love fridging women in.
Yeah, it's a great idea. That's
pop
totally
culture.
not problematic at all.
Yeah, that's the best trope. But she's not metaphorically in a fridge. She's literally in a fridge.
Yes.
So
yes.
I guess that makes it better.
It's filled with frozen fish. It can't be that great.
I mean, but at least she's not dead.
True.
Which is the metaphorical fridge. So they, and they will end up putting a fun spin on this in a moment when we meet Sue. And but Jason's all like, that's not normally your style. And he's like, well, no, but Mr. Grote, kind of insisted. And so I'm playing along with it. And I was like, oh, okay, we got to establish our villains have morals as well. Thanks, Focus. I appreciate this level of nuance. It was unexpected. And so...
Yeah, basically Jason and the girl are both supposed to, the grinder and the girl are both are supposed to meet Grote. They're, getting shipped over to meet him.
Yep.
And then we cut to the van with the gentleman who was sent out to pay his respects to Billings and Florin, and he has Jason's trench coat and hat on, so it looks like him in the camera, and he basically knocks on the door, busts open, sprays a bunch of chemicals, presumably. Oh, it's later revealed to be an anesthetic, and knocks them unconscious.
Yeah. And we jump back in, and Jason's at the fridge with Sue and Mycroft. He asks the girl's name. Mycroft responds, Thug.
Yep.
He's like, no, I was asking her name. She's like, oh, it's Sue. And then he starts to I love his gentle voice that he does. He's really good. And then he's just like, wait. Rewind. Did you say your name is Thug?
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, with 2 G's.
Yep.
Isn't it great? And he's glowing with the fact that he's a thug named Thug. And it's really funny.
It's like having a doctor named, Doctor? Yep. Yeah, it's really good.
Yep. And then Jason's like, well, Sue, we're playing a game here. We're playing a prank on your dad. And I'm gonna have to knock out Thug real quick. And then just one punch drops him.
Yep. Just clean clocks him right in the, gotta be the side of the head, right?
Yep.
Maybe.
And then he just completely, he warms up to her, and then Fingers walks in and is like, dude, I saw all that on camera. I didn't expect you to be this dumb. Grote was like, if we put a girl in jeopardy, Jason will surely come out of disguise.
Yeah.
But I didn't think it would be that easy. I figured you'd be a better agent than that. And I fully agree.
Yeah, no, he definitely abandoned ship quite fast. Yeah. And in a way that is not very skilled. Maybe you should retire. I don't know. Tasha, where's your mans? Figure it out.
Yeah, seriously. Tasha would never.
Exactly. That's that new shirt. Tasha would never.
Yeah, that's the thing about Tasha. She would care about this child just as much, but also still continue to be a good agent while doing so.
Not jeopardize the mission. She would maximize the presence of Sue and get her to. She would realize that Sue was playing along and probably double, Tyrion Lannister, whatever they're paying you, I'll pay you triple that. And get her to work for him and flip the whole thing on its head. But that would have only been a 2-part episode.
Right. So. She would have done her research and been like, Billings doesn't have a daughter, or if he did, it wouldn't have been this easy to take her, and she doesn't look like this. And
she doesn't take dance.
Right.
She's into gymnastics.
Right. What I'm saying is all this could have been solved if you just put Tasha on the case.
Yep.
And she would have chosen a better name than the Grinder.
Yeah, it would be the Grindess.
The Grindette?
The Grinder and the Grindette.
Coming soon to a theater near you. And so, yeah, he...
feel like they tap dance.
I love so Fingers then reveals that Sue was hired by him, and then Fingers says Jason's name. So like it's not only like they suspected he was an agent, they knew what agent he was, which is like, why then did they go through any of this?
Any of the charade?
If he just knew he was Jason, he should have just grabbed him. Like I don't get it. I realized that they did like a little like, oh, like we're framing Jason for some of this. But like they didn't need to hire Sue if they just knew he was Jason. Yeah. So it's really weird. But as soon as he says Jason's name, Townsend Coleman drops the
accent.
grinder voice and just plays Jason, and I love it. I love the pivot there.
It's
great.
Really great. And what does he say? He's like, would you believe me if I said I knew nothing about this?
Right.
Or something.
In his normal voice.
Yeah. It's really funny.
It is. And so then Fingers leaves, the two of them alone.
Which is such a good idea.
And it doesn't even sound like they're in the fridge. It sounds like they're in the room outside the fridge.
Yeah.
And Sue's like, well, there's a ventilation, like there's a camera, and underneath it is a duct that we can both fit through. And so they just leave.
Yeah. They're
like,
out. And of course,
what did Thug need to go do that he couldn't have stayed there and guarded?
Maybe he like is also like a line cook.
Right.
I mean, there's got to be a pretty elaborate front.
It's real weird. They get outside.
Gustavo Fring would never.
Yeah. They get outside and Sue's gonna run off, and Jason's like, no, you gotta stay with me. Oh, because the whole thing is like, Sue's like, well, shouldn't I be like safe? You know, like we had a deal, Fingers, and he's like, and Jason basically explains to her like, look, you now know too much. Yeah. They're not letting you like walk the streets.
Which is another reason why this is a unprofessional whack job here, Mr. Fingers. Like you gotta account for liabilities beforehand and not create these situations.
Yeah. Listen to Lord.
Yep.
And so she does this bit where she's gonna peace out again, and Jason's like, no, you gotta stay. She's like, all right, it's gonna cost you. And she goes up to the van that was parked there, pretending to be a student reporter. And then during that conversation, some guy just comes up, lays everything out, and name drops MI5 in front of a child.
Yeah, that seems a bit unrealistic. It could have just said cops or, agents or something like... It's government officials.
Or, like, Sue is she's crafty and clever and, like...
She could have overheard something like that.
Like, she could have totally, like, snuck up and overheard, but instead she just, like, is standing there while all of this information is just dumped.
Yeah. She's like, hey, I'm with the paper. Here, let me tell you about this top secret investigation.
But the thing that does get established here is that, like, Reggie like framed Jason.
Yes.
By like having his guy come up in the jacket and hat.
Yeah.
And spray them. And so it's all, very clever. And that's another thing too. They open like the van door and get sprayed when Jason shows up with the hat. And it's like they're spies. They should have a better system than like, oh, someone's wearing this guy's clothes and knocking. Let's open the door for them.
Yeah, clearly, in that situation, you could have gone the extra mile and really saved yourself some trouble there.
Yeah, have a sign.
Could have been great. Will a sign help? It
or
will.
Even just don't open unless he looks in the camera.
Yeah, or a secret knock. This is an excellent opportunity for a secret knock.
Yeah, it's true. And so
it's also revealed that the two people are unconscious. They're not dead.
Right.
Which was when listening through it, I was like, are they dead? Did they just kill those people?
No.
I knew they didn't, but also,
you never know.
To clarify.
Yeah. Jason borrows Sue's cell phone then after she comes out and reports.
And Jason's like, you had a phone this whole time? And she's like, yeah, but who was I going to call?
And this is where you can clearly tell that this was a late rewrite. because Jason calls Wit, and then the next scene, with no context or setup, he walks into a hotel to talk to Ann and Dale Jacobs.
Yeah, just blast from the past. Nothing.
Right.
There's
Characters
no
that
setup.
haven't been around forever, and there is like no connection to like Wit connecting him to the Jacobs. It's just like he just shows up at their hotel room, and they're like, "Oh, we haven't seen you in forever," and I'm like, have Ann and Dale Jacobs ever interacted with Jason?
Not on
Like-
camera.
Like, I feel like, was Dale around for like, I mean, yeah, like there was some stuff like at one point Novacom or like Andromeda purchased the Odyssey Times where Dale works.
Yeah.
So like maybe there was some Novacom connections, or maybe like when they were like reporting on the Israelites back. Like I'm not saying that like they've never seen each other before, but it's just like there is so little here. And that's fine. Like I understand the reason it had to happen, and I think they're doing a really serviceable job. It's just like it made so much more sense when I read like, oh, this was like a week before they found out, shoot, we're not going to be able to do Jack and Joanne. And then they pivoted to just the people who were available.
To just phone call to,
And so they're in London on a trip because there's like some symposium about journalism, and also Jason... Or also, the Odyssey Times has been purchased by someone overseas, and Anne just wants to. Yeah, man, local news. It's not in good shape. That's relevant.
Yeah, it's getting snatched up.
And Anne's just there to sightsee.
Yep, yeah, she's here to sightsee and shop, and she found their room on HotelSleuth.com, which I don't believe is a real thing.
No, but is a weird thing that they keep like referencing, and I'm like,
did you get a good price?
Is this going to matter?
No. It's
But
Odyssey
like
making
they
jokes
talk
about
like,
pricing.
oh,
because...
she's got this huge hotel room because she like booked her hotel online, and I'm like, boy, 2012 was a different place. But also like then she's asking Jason how he booked his hotel, and I'm like, is all this gonna matter in some way? It's not. I'm sure it's not.
I really hope it's not.
But it would. Yeah. It's so much time spent on nothing.
Yeah, well, and that's my complaint about this, where it's just there's so much, because of the last minute rewrite, there's so much exposition and just dumping and, basically setting the scene that none of it really feels super organic or believable, which is fine. I understand.
I'm glad we get Jack and Joanne after this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And like I said, fully understand the circumstances.
Of course. And they did an okay job considering what happened.
No, they really make it work. It's just, but now listening to it, because I found that out in between my first and second listens, and the second one was just going like, oh, I wish this was, because like Jack and Joanne and Jason have such a good established relationship,
incredible chemistry, and like them being overseas would be so fun, because I feel like Jack and Joanne are like for it, like they do a lot of international travel.
Yeah, exactly. They're antique stealers.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense for them to be.
And like Jack's been involved in spy stuff before. Yeah, like he's gotten roped into these sorts of things in the past.
Oh, what could have been?
Yeah,
what could have been?
But yeah, and so Jason's like, okay, well, I need to get the briefcase with all my spy stuff from the hotel room, and I can't go there because I've been framed and they're going to be watching it. But I have the room next door, and so I want you, Dale, and also Sue, because you guys will look more convincing as a father-daughter than as two adults. Sure.
Okay.
And go. And so they're
maybe
they're
he
gonna
knew
go
that
on this
Sue
mission.
was the one that he should have been trusting, because Sue is super clutch in this next scene.
Quite possibly. Although Dale does okay.
He does all right. Yeah. I guess the next scene is Florin and Billings.
Yeah. Florin wakes up and is just like, it was Jason.
I feel like I've got a sack of wet potatoes in my head.
That's true, and he did get lost in that labyrinth.
Yes, he did.
But yeah, Dale and Sue show up at the hotel. Mm-hmm. The inspector or detective or whomever comes out to talk to them, and is like, "Oh, can I like come in and take a look around? You know, there's something
he's from
scary
Scotland
next door."
Yard.
Yes, he is from Scotland Yard. Good point. You make a great point.
Which
this is Macintosh from Scotland Yard.
Inspector Macintosh,
perhaps. And he sorry, one sec. Yeah, so he asks if he can come into the room with them to take a look around, kind of filling them in on the events. And there's a weird Andrew Lloyd Webber roast, which I don't understand. Where like
he's talking about being nauseous from a play,
right? And he's like, we just saw the new Andrew Lloyd Webber, and the detective's like, oh, I understand entirely, which is like, it's a funny joke. It's just like, Andrew Lloyd Webber's the one you're picking on, like he's so famous, like.
What has he done?
What? Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, Jesus Christ Superstore. Jesus Christ.
Different
Superstar?
Jewish. Another Jewish man.
Jesus Christ Superstar, Cats, Phantom of the Opera.
Wow.
Like, he is one of the biggest contemporary musical writers.
Yeah, man, absolutely sick to my stomach with all of those theatrical classics.
And like, yeah, and there's a note on the wiki that like his play around this time was called Love Never Dies.
And it wasn't.
I guess it wasn't. Like, I feel like his recent stuff hasn't been reviewed as well.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it feels weird for writer Paul McCusker to be like, I am going to make a joke about like arguably the largest like writer of musicals, you know, until like Lin-Manuel Miranda showed up.
Yeah.
Like,
oh yeah.
This is like the guy, and like we're just gonna like punch at him.
Yep.
And like I appreciate punching up rather than punching down. It's just like you couldn't have found like a playwright who is like hacky and people make fun of. I feel like Andrew Lloyd Webber is well regarded.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and also the fact that he makes a joke about a play director and this detective inspector man from Scotland Yard gets it and is like,
yes,
perfectly fine. You're good.
Yes.
Onward and upward.
Yeah, and so they go look through the room.
To the bathroom.
Yep, Sue goes into the bathroom, makes a lot of noise. Dale blames creaky pipes, which is... So we've talked about it before, I think, but McCusker spent a lot of time in London.
Oh, did he?
I believe his wife is English, but yeah, he lived over there for a long period of time, so a lot of this, I imagine, is just like fun, inside jokey stuff for him. So I can appreciate that.
Yeah, well, at least it's legit. I mean, that works for me.
And so what the detectives then like, all right, I'm gonna go out, stay across the hall. Let me know if you find anything.
Yeah.
And Dale's like, all right, like we're gonna get out of here, and they like pack everything into a big suitcase, including Sue, and like walk out there. And he's like, I just gotta put these valuables down in the hotel safe. And the detective's like, that seems like a lot of valuables, but okay. And then calls his other guy down in the lobby. But as they're going down, Sue's like, we should stop on the second floor. And they run down towards the back stairs, and that's where we end.
Yeah. Well, and they get caught. Like they're like, hey, you, like, stop where you are, and they make a run for it.
This is so much plot in this episode, so much setup. It is really good.
It's
I
really,
like it.
really good. I mean, I said at the beginning, I don't know, it's paced like very aggressively, like it feels like I'm watching a TV show when I was listening to it, I love it. I'm excited for part 2 and part 3 because I have no clue how this ends. I have no memory of it.
And that's that's basically that's what I've got. Like I'm just like, I'm excited for more. Let's bring on more. I like Jason. I can poke holes in the plot because I'm doing this show, but also like I don't care
No.
when I'm listening.
No, it doesn't make me not love it.
Totally like sucks me into the world. I'm not sitting there going like, well, this doesn't seem plausible. I'm like, yeah, who cares? Like, it's fiction.
No, yeah. Well, and this is, super exciting. And, like, I love Sue as a character, and Sue and Jason's interactions are really good. I'm excited to see where that goes with the rest of the episodes. Yeah, and also just getting different voice actors in to play, different agents and all of that. It's nice. And making fun of the Grinder name, because they could have done anything.
Yep.
It could have been anything else.
But
they went with that.
But yeah, that is it then.
That is it for this week.
Yeah. Anything you're hoping to plug here, Andrew?
Nope. Plug free.
Yeah. Same here. And next week, we're going to come back here and we're going to talk about episode 704, The Labyrinth, Part 2. Bet you didn't see that one coming.
Bye, guys.
Bye.
WadFam Chalk Pod is a presentation of the Lidditz Podcast Co-op. Follow the podcast at WadFam Chalk Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or email us at wadfamchalkpod@gmail.com. The Labyrinth Part 1 was hosted by Dylan Weaver and Andrew Acebo, and edited by Dylan Weaver. And I'm Nathan Haverstick, hoping you'll join us again next time for more of the WadFam Chalk Pod.